When people hear about intermittent fasting, they seem to always focus on the benefits, like losing weight, it being super easy, and you can almost eat whatever you want. But people are forgetting the huge downside of fasting in general, and it's so bad that you might actually be sabotaging your chances of aging well if you just miss this one little piece. But don't worry, I'm on here today to tell you what is the weak link with intermittent fasting and what can you do to fix it so you can meet your goals for health and living a long, healthy life. If we haven't met, my name is Joe Sidaway. I'm actually a doctor of physical therapy and I help older adults live their best years on their own terms. So let's dive right in. If you're new to the idea of fasting, I want to define some terms. Fasting in general means to not be eating or drinking. This can be all food and drink for just a period of time, or you might even just isolate some foods for a certain amount of time. So intermittent fasting is just really where you alternate between periods of fasting and periods of eating. One of the most common ways people get started with intermittent fasting is doing the 16-8 protocol, which means you eat for a period of 8 hours in the day, and then for 16 hours you fast. It's pretty simple. Before moving on, the entire magic of fasting boils down to this. You are restricting how many calories you can consume. It is physically impossible to eat a ton of food in a short amount of time, especially when you start to get to these smaller feeding windows, like instead of 8 hours a day, you're now going 4 hours a day. Think of it like a Chinese buffet. You eventually get so full you have to stop and then you leave. While this is a helpful tool to reduce your calories, which is really how we lose weight, right? The issue with intermittent fasting is that most people get so excited about the unrestricted eating part, basically that you can binge and eat whatever you want during those hours, but they don't make the right choices of what foods you should be eating, especially when you're trying to build muscle. And if you don't already know, muscle building is probably the most important thing you can do for your health, besides improving your heart health. And the way you build muscle is by having a lot of protein and do strength training or resistance training. If you look at how much you need to be eating just to build muscle, especially once you get to like 60 years old or older, it's a lot. It takes focused and deliberate effort to get that much protein in your day. So let's go back to intermittent fasting. You sit down in a Chinese restaurant, you're starving, and now you eat all the foods you've been craving. And usually there isn't gonna be enough protein in the average person's diet. So while you do lose weight, you are not just getting rid of fat, you are also losing muscle mass. And I actually saw this with a friend of mine. He's about 60 years old and did intermittent fasting to the point I couldn't even recognize him. He probably lost, honestly, almost over 100 pounds, and he now weighs less than I do. So what is the problem with that? The thing is, it wasn't all fat. So yes, right now he is slim, but when he turns 70 and 80, he's gonna be having a hard time to be independent because of how fast he's losing his strength. Now that is only if he doesn't do these three things. Number one is to track how much protein you get in a day. Don't worry about anything else. Just track using a free app like Macros First. I find it really helpful and it's also very user-friendly. The second is to eat at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I weigh 175 pounds, so I eat, or at least I try to eat, 175 grams of protein every day. Number 3 is perform strength training. I don't care what it is. Anything above 0 is an improvement. And if you want guidance on how to build muscle over 60, especially with what exercises should I be choosing, how do I get that much protein, how do I make sure not to injure myself, check out our Strength Over 60 program. That's where I go over 8 weeks of helping people understand how to train safely, build muscle, improve balance, and build a body that lasts. Until then, stay healthy, get strong. And as always, thanks so much for watching.